we have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. Meditation is the emptying of the content of consciousness, which is consciousness. That is the meaning and depth of meditation, the emptying of all the content, which means thought coming to an end. Hello and welcome to episode 253 of Urgency of Change. Each fortnightly episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of his talks. Extracts from the archives have been selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timelessly relevant themes. This week's theme is emptying consciousness. Upcoming themes are the false, the future, and knowing. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. Please visit our website at kfoundation.org, where you can find a popular collection of quotes, a variety of featured articles, along with a wide selection of curated material in the index of topics, allowing easy access to book, audio and video extracts. Our online store stocks the best of Krishnamurti's books and ships worldwide. We also offer free downloads, including a selection of booklets. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on emptying consciousness has 4 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's third talk at Brockwood Park in 1973 and is titled, What is Consciousness?
It's important to inquire what is consciousness, right? Consciousness exists only because of its content. Its content makes up consciousness. Right? My consciousness is made up of my conditioning as a Hindu, as a Brahmin, born in India with its tradition, with its superstitions, beliefs, dogmas, divisions, and the recent acquisition of a new poison called nationalism, with all the gods and so on and on and on and on. The conscious and the unconscious residue of the past, the racial inheritance and the recent acquisitions, the recent experiences and denials and sacrifices, the temperaments, the activities of personal demands, all that is the content of my consciousness as well as your consciousness is. That is the content. And that content makes up consciousness. Without the content, there is no consciousness. Please, this is very important to understand, because when we go into the question of what is death and what is love, one must have understood this. Otherwise it will have no meaning. Because when one dies, the content of the brain cells, which have stored up all the memory, which make up consciousness, withers away with all its memories, experiences, knowledge, then what has happened to consciousness as the me, which has lived in this world, fighting, struggling, miserable, full of anxiety and endless sorrow, until the mind understands the nature and the structure of consciousness. That is what you are, which is your consciousness. That consciousness, with its content, makes up the total, which you call the me, the ego, the person, this psychological structure of your temperament, of your idiosyncrasy, of your conditioning. Now, without understanding it very, very deeply, non-verbally, though we may use words, one has to understand it. Communion means the verbal understanding as well as non-verbal understanding. Communion between two people takes place only when there is a relationship between the two in which both of them are deeply, intensely, at the same time involved in the problem. Then there is not only a verbal but non-verbal communication. And that's what we have to do this morning, here now. So the mind sees that the whole content of my existence, my consciousness, my awareness, my conflict is within this field of time, of thought, of memories, experience and knowledge, which is within the field of consciousness. Are we right? Right, sir? Wait, let me finish up. We'll come to it. If that is very clear, that is, all the religious images, the propaganda of 2,000 years of priests make you believe in something, or 3,000, 5,000 years of propaganda, reading, literature, and all the rest of it which has gone on in the East. All that is within this field of consciousness, which is time, which is thought. The content makes consciousness. If there is no content, there is no consciousness. And the content being fragmented, one fragment observes the various other fragments. And tries to control, shape other fragments. That's what we are doing all the time. One fragment calling itself virtuous, noble, religious, scientific, modern, whatever it is, trying to shape, dominate, suppress other fragments within the field of time, which is consciousness. Right? Are we meeting each other? So my problem then is, and it's your problem when I say mine, so our problem is, how can then the mind observe, non-fragmentarily, observe a movement, life as a total movement, right? Which means, can the mind be free of the contents of consciousness?
The second extract is from the fifth discussion in Saanen 1975 and is titled Freedom Implies Emptying Consciousness of Its Content.
How do you see the totality of anything? You understand? How do you see the totality of a tree? If you are a professional, a lumberman, you don't see the totality of the tree. You are thinking what you can do with it. How many houses you can build, what kind of paper can produce, and so on, so on. So, you never see the totality of anything if there is a previous conclusion about it. Right? Is that simple? That's fairly simple, isn't it? So, I do not know what the totality of my consciousness is. Right? That is a fact, not a supposition. Though they talk a great deal about the unconscious and the conscious and all the dreams and, all that's going on. Actually, when you look at yourself, do you see the whole content or parts of it? Go on, sir. You only see parts of it, don't you? So, the observation of the part denies the whole. I wonder if you see that. If I am concentrated on my problems, my ambitions, my country, my God, my this, I can't see the whole. Right? I can only see the whole when I'm not when I'm not concerned with the part. Though the part is included, but I'm not concerned with it. Then, in that perception, though there are the parts, I see the totality of it. Which means my mind is free to observe. And it's not free to observe when I've already come to some conclusions about it. We were talking once with a very famous scholar and a writer, very well-known writer. Superb style, a great friend. And he said, I find it terribly difficult because I've read so much. He was a scientist, an artist, he could play piano, he could draw, he could talk about Vedanta, Tibetan Buddhism, any subject on earth he could. And he said, I've read so much. My mind is so full of words and knowledge. And how can I experience something original? You follow? So, to see something originally That is the totality of consciousness. Don't bring your knowledge, your associations, look at the whole thing. You understand what I mean? So knowledge becomes a danger which will prevent you from seeing the whole. Knowledge is useful. Knowledge means one speaks English, therefore there is a knowledge of English. And so on, mechanical processes. So, freedom implies space. And that space is denied, and therefore freedom is denied by the politicians, by the dictators, by the totalitarian socialism, by the priests, by our own beliefs, by our own pursuit of pleasure, greed, and so on. So, freedom implies emptying the conscious of its, emptying the consciousness of its content. No, don't, please, this is real meditation, don't fool yourself, you know nothing about it. One's consciousness is its content, right? That's clear. Indian English, the cultural, ethical, economic, personal, everything is in that space of consciousness with its content, right? That consciousness can expand or contract, but is still is still held by its content. Held by its content. One is aware of all this. Not verbally, but actually. Right? That is, one is Christian, one is a Buddhist, one is communist, one has so many opinions, judgments, evaluations, problems, sex, demands, full of that. And in that content there is no space and no freedom, right? Does one see that? Go on, sir, please. Are you aware that in that limited consciousness there is no freedom and therefore no space? And without space, the inevitable process is that thought fills that space. I wonder if you see. Have you ever noticed when you are by yourself or walking along the woods or quietly that your mind, when it is not thinking at all, when there's no thought is there is an extraordinary sense of deep, wide, quiet space. And thought is frightened of that space because it's uncertain. So it begins to fill that space. Have you noticed all this? So our question is it at all possible to empty the psychological content of consciousness? You understand my question? The question, not the answer. So we're going to find out, we're going to learn about it together. If you're interested in this, we'll go together. As we said yesterday, our brains can only function in areas of certainty, in areas of security, obviously. It is frightened of the unknown. Death, what will happen tomorrow, the unknown. So, it functions and operates and lives within the area of the known, which is a tradition, old or new. And in the field of the known, there is hardly any space. I wonder if you see that. Right? May I go on? This is a dialogue between you and me. You must also talk. I'm not just talking to myself. So, can the mind bring about space, not artificially? Because that then the artificiality then is the movement of thought. We are back into something good old business. Therefore it is valueless. So, is there a possibility of consciousness, its content, emptying itself? You understand? All right. Suppose my consciousness is filled with my pride, with my arrogance, what it has done, what it has achieved, what it has, what it has accumulated. The tradition, the nationality, the culture, all that occupies my consciousness. And therefore, in that consciousness, there is very little space. And therefore, there is no freedom there. And I ask myself, can this content naturally fade out? Right? Naturally, not propelled out, kicked out, willed out, or substituted. Can it naturally empty itself of its content? You have understood the question? Now we're going to find out. First of all, am I aware of it? Aware of my content. I am a nationalist. I am a Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, or a communist, socialist, and I've got various problems of sex, pleasure, ambition, greed. I must be beautiful, I must know more, I'm not as good as that, I'm ideals, you follow? All that. Can all that be washed out, emptied? Have you ever asked this question? No. We're asking it now. How shall I set about it? Right? I know the content of my consciousness. And the content of my consciousness is the content of your consciousness. You understand? My content is your content, because you are ambitious, greedy, envy, violent, stupid, clever, all that. So, our consciousness deeply is like yours. And I'm asking, can this content end instantly, not gradually? Because through gradual process, I am accumulating. You understand by what's meant by... If I am gradually emptying the well, the water is filling up all the time. You understand? If I am gradually, layer after layer, problem after problem, ideal after remove, it takes time. In that time, some other factors arise, which bring further complications, like as they're doing in politics. So my question is, can that end instantly? Otherwise, it has no meaning. I wonder if you see that. Right? Can we? Now, how does it end? What is the process of it? I said, am I aware of this whole movement of the consciousness? Am I aware of it? Then, if I am aware, what is the meaning of attention? Right? Now, when there is no observer, then there is total attention. So, who is the observer? The observer is the past, is the accumulated knowledge, associations, remembrances, all that is the past, which is time. So, as long as there is an observer who is observing and trying to be attentive, there is no attention. Right? Have we understood? If I am trying to practice attention, as many do, then it is still the process of thought, which is that the center says to itself, attention may be most useful, and so I'll practice it. And that is still within the area of reality, which is thought. I want to feel. So we are saying that attention means attention comes about when there is no observer. Right? Think it out. See what is, learn about the observer. That is me observing you. Me with my prejudices, observing you. So I never see you. I see you through the screen of my conclusions. So can I look at you without any conclusion? That is, without the observer. Which means only observation. And therefore total attention.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's sixth talk in Ojai 1977 and is titled Emptying Consciousness Means Thought Ending.
Then from that arises awareness. To be aware, you are aware then of all the movement of your thoughts. You got it? Then out of that awareness comes attention. Now, when you are attending to something really deeply, there is no center, is there? Have you watched? Now, wait a minute. If you are listening very attentively to what is being said, now, when you are attending with all your nerves, ears, giving all your energy to attending, is there a me? Is there? Obviously not. You understand? So, in attention, there is no center from which you are attending. Whereas in concentration, there is a center. You get it? Well, it's up to you. Then, in that attention, if you have gone that far, which is that you have laid the foundation, that you are free from all the business of thought, all the travails of thought, fear, agony, despair. That's the foundation. That is the content of your consciousness, which is put there by thought, now is being emptied. You understand? Is being freed. So, meditation is the emptying of the content of consciousness, which is consciousness. You getting this? That is the meaning of and the depth of meditation, the emptying of all the content, which means putting, please listen, thought coming to an end. Thought is necessary when I function technologically in the office and so on. But every other form of registration comes to an end. You understand what I'm saying? No, please listen carefully. I'll tell you something. You know, our brain is registering almost everything. The noise, the words which are using, like a tape. It is registering. Now, is it possible not to register, but only register what is absolutely necessary? You understand my question? I wonder if you understand. Why should I register your insult? Why? Why should I register your flattery? It's unnecessary. Why should I register the hurts? Unnecessary. You understand? Therefore, register only that which is necessary to operate in daily life as a technician, a writer, and so on. But psychologically, don't register anything else. Are you capturing this? So, the registration is the movement of thought which is anger, jealousy, hatred, all that. So consciousness then has lost its content. Therefore, it is totally a different state of mind, which is I do not know how far you can go into this. I will go. Follow it if you can. If you cannot, it doesn't matter. Because this is the weight of living. not the way that we carry on day after day with all kinds of confusion and uncertainty. We're pointing out a totally different way of living, which is the emptying of consciousness of its content, which is fear, and so on, all that thing which we have been talking endlessly for the last 5 talks. Now we've come to a point when we say meditation is the attention in which there is no registration of psychologically, no registration except the fact of language, going to the office, working in a factory and so on, nothing else. Then out of that comes complete silence, because thought has come to an end. It functions only where it is absolutely necessary. So time has come to an end. You understand? Time means movement. Therefore, when time stops, then there is a totally different kind of movement in silence. Sorry, you won't understand all this. And religion then becomes a totally different thing. Religion then has a totally different meaning. Now, let's look at that. Religion as it is now, please, if I use strong words, look at it. Don't say you're prejudiced or you're conditioned or anything. Just look at it. Religion now is a matter of thought, right? Thought has made the various Hindu religions, the Christian religions, with all their contents, their superstitions, with their symbols, with their, figures, everything is put together by thought. And therefore, each religion is fragmented. You are Christian, somebody else is a Muslim, somebody else is a Hindu, and so on. And in those divisions, there are subdivisions, multiple divisions. All the result of thought. This is what you call religion. Going to the Mass, rituals, the incense, the symbols, all that's called religion. The beliefs, the hopes, the fears, and the desire to be secure in another world or find security in a belief, and so on. All that is called religion, right? We are saying that's not religion. That is merely the movement of thought in fear, in hope, in trying to find security. Thought being a material process. Material process, when we use the word material, it means memory, experience, knowledge is stored up in the brain, in the very cells. Therefore, it is matter. So thought is a material process. And anything that thought is created, put together, is fragmentary and therefore not religious. So we are finding out, then what is religion? If all this is not religious, which no bishop, no devout Christian, no devout superstitious Hindu or superstitious will accept this, but it doesn't matter. These are facts. Then what is religion? If it is none of these things, then what is it? It is the investigation with all your attention, which means with all your energy, the summation of all your energy, to find out that which is sacred, to come upon that which is holy, which thought has not put together. And that can only take place when there is freedom from noise, that is the noise of thought. That means the ending of thought and time psychologically, inwardly, but not the ending of knowledge in the world where you have to function with knowledge. So that which is holy, that which is sacred, which is truth, can only be when there is complete silence, when the brain is itself has understood the necessity or put thought in its right place. Then out of that immense silence, then there is that which is sacred. Silence demands space. Space in the whole structure of consciousness. There is no space in the structure of our consciousness as it is, because it's crowded with fears, crowded, chattering. And therefore there is no space. When there is silence, there is immense timeless space. Then only there is the possibility of coming upon that which is the eternal, the sacred.
The final extract in this episode is from the 7th talk in Saanen, 1974, and is titled Meditation is the Emptying of Consciousness.
What is the meaning of meditation? The meaning of meditation is objective, not my personal opinion, judgment, evaluation, dogma, experience, none of that. Meditation means the emptying of consciousness of its content. Then only can the mind and the brain be absolutely quiet. That absolute, not relative, absolute quietness is necessary to observe, not to experience. Right? Please see all this. Most of us want experience. Experience, which we've had, sensory experiences, sexual, every kind of experience we've had. And thought desires more experiences. An experience of another state, of another dimension. Right? Because we are fed up with this world and its experience. They are boring. They have a limitation. They are confined, narrow. And we want an experience which is totally different. Right? Now, to experience involves recognition. Right? You're following? if I don't recognize, is there an experience? I've had the experience of looking at a mountain, the beauty of it, the shadows, the lovely deep blue of an early morning, the whole sense of something extraordinary, magnificent. And that experience cannot exist if there is no relationship to the past. Right? So, experience implies recognition from the past. Obviously, it's so simple. So, mind wants to experience something supreme. And to recognize it, you must have already had it. Therefore, it is not the supreme. You understand? It is still the projection of the mind, of thought. So meditation is a meditation in which there is no experience. Swallow that. Because in that, there is no element of time. Are we meeting each other? As we said, time implies movement and direction. When the direction implies will. And can the mind empty itself of time and direction and movement, which is the ending of thought? That is the whole problem. You understand? Are we following each other? Or is there still verbal description and you're just enjoying the speaker's delight in talking about meditation? We're asking, what is meditation? We said, it is the emptying of the mind of the known. Emptying of the mind of its content as consciousness with all its accumulation. And whether that is possible. Right? Because we need knowledge to function. To speak any language, you need knowledge. To ride a car, you need a knowledge. To do anything, you need knowledge. And what place has knowledge in meditation? Or it has no place at all. It has no place. Because if it is merely a continuation of the past, right? It is still the movement of time, the movement of the past, and so on. Have you understood? So can the mind empty itself of the past and come upon that area of the mind which is not touched by thought. You understood the problem, my question? See, we have only operated so far within the area of thought as knowledge. Right? Is there any other part, any other area of the mind, which includes the brain, which is not touched by human struggle, pain, anxiety, fear, all the violence, all the things that man has made through thought? Right? And the discovery of that area is meditation. That implies, can thought come to an end? But yet thought operates when necessary in the field of knowledge. You understand my question? Please understand this question. Pay a little attention. You may be tired, but just give your little attention to it. We need knowledge. Otherwise you can't function. You can't go home. You won't be able to speak. You won't be able to write, and so on. Knowledge is necessary to function. And that functioning becomes neurotic, that function becomes, that out of the function, status becomes all important, which is the entering of thought as the me, which is status. Right? So, knowledge is necessary. And meditation is to discover or come upon or to observe an area in which there is no movement of thought. And can the two live together harmoniously, daily, that is the problem. Not breathing, you understand? Not sitting straight, not repeating mantras, slogans, paying $100 or whatever you pay in order to learn some ugly little word and repeat that and you think you're in heaven, which is called transcendental nonsense. And that is the whole problem of yoga. Practicing yoga, standing on your head and proficiency in yoga and all the rest of it. It must have originally must have had a totally different meaning. The word yoga means to join. To join the higher and the lower. You follow? And that was what we have, but it must have had quite a different meaning. Because who is it that has divided the two, and who is it that joins them together? You follow? It is still thought. Right? And there are. So, yoga exercise is excellent. One must do it. I do it. The speaker does it every day for an hour or more. But that's merely a physical exercise of a different kind to keep the body healthy, breathing and so on. But through that, you can never come upon the other. Never. Because if you give to that all importance, then you are not giving importance to the understanding of yourself, which is to be watchful, to be aware, to give attention to what you are doing every day of your life. How you speak, what you say, what you think, how you behave, whether you are attached, whether you are frightened, whether you are pursuing pleasure, and so on. To be aware of this whole movement of thought. If you are, And if you are really serious about it, then you will have established right relationship, obviously. You understand? Relationship becomes extraordinarily important when all things about you become chaotic. When the world is going to pieces as it is, relationship becomes extraordinarily important. There you seek security. You want to hold on to that one thing that is possibly can give you complete sense of unity and all the rest of it. Right? So, unless there is this establishment between you and another of total relationship, that means a world relationship, not between you and me, but human relationship with the whole of the world, then you have, that is the basis. From there, you can go on to behavior, how you behave. If your behavior has a motive, then it's not behavior. If your behavior is based on pleasure or on reward, it is not behavior. It's merely the pursuit of pleasure or fear. Not the pursuit of fear, fear arises. So, relationship, behavior, and order. These are absolutely essential if you want to go into the question of meditation. If you have not laid this foundation, then you can do what you like. Stand on your head, breathe in for the next 10,000 years and repeat words. There will be no meditation. You can even go to India if you have the money. I don't know why you go to India. You will find no enlightenment there. Enlightenment is where you are. And where you are, you have to understand yourself. Having established that, laid the foundation there, order, not mechanical order, because order is virtue. From moment to moment, it's not following a pattern. It's not the order of the establishment. It's not the order or the virtue of society, which is immoral. So, order, behavior, and relationship. Then you can go into the question of finding out what is meditation. Meditation implies a quality of mind that is absolutely silent, not made silent, not contrived act, not brought about through will, but a silence that comes naturally when you have established order, relationship, and behavior. And silence is necessary, because otherwise you can't see, right? Please see this. If my mind is chattering, as most minds are, in that chatter there may be a period of between two chattering, there might be a period of silence, but that's not silence. Silence is not the absence of noise. Silence is not the absence of conflict. Silence comes only when the content of your consciousness has been completely understood and gone beyond. which means the observer and the observed are one. And when there is no controller, please listen to this. When there is no controller, it doesn't mean that you live a life of undiscipline, but when there is no observer, no controller, action then is instantaneous, which brings a great deal of energy. Right? So, meditation means not only the emptying of consciousness, it's a content. And that happens only when you observe your consciousness and its content without the observer. Please see this, right? Can you look at something, whatever it is, your wife, your husband, your girl, your boy, or the mountains, without the observer? The observer is the past. And as long as there is the observer, he will inevitably translate everything he observes in terms of the past. And therefore he is the maker of time. And he divides the observed and the observer. And therefore in that there is conflict. When there is an observation without the observer, there is no conflict. There is no past. Only the fact, and you have the energy to go beyond it. Do it and you'll find out. So, meditation implies a gathering of all energy. Because you have established order, relationship, behavior. Therefore, you're not dissipating energy in that field. And therefore, you have energy. And that energy is necessary to look without the observer. Right? So that you have the energy to go beyond. And with that energy, which has not been dissipated, the mind sees there is an area which is not touched by thought. But all this requires tremendous attention and energy and discipline. You understand? It isn't just a plaything for some immature, idiotic people. It requires tremendous discipline. Now, discipline means, the word in the dictionary means to learn. You understand? Not the absurd thing that we are made of it. That we must control, we must subjugate, we must imitate, conform. Discipline means to learn. Disciple comes from the word discipline, comes the disciple. Disciple who is one who is willing to learn from the master. Learn. Here there is neither disciple nor a master, but only the act of learning all the time. Right? And that requires great deal of attention. A great deal of energy, so that you're watching, so that you create no illusion. You understand? Because it's so easy to create illusions. Illusions exist only when you are pursuing, demanding, wanting an experience. Desire creates illusion. Wish creates illusion. So, Lord, you know, all this implies a mind that is very, very serious. A heart that is of love, that has never been hurt. You understand? We human beings from childhood are hurt. Our parents hurt us. Our friends hurt us. In the business world, we are hurt. We are hurt in every direction. And when we are hurt, we cannot possibly love. Right? So is it possible for a mind that has been hurt to be free of all those hurts, which is part of the consciousness? And you will find when you look at it that it is utterly and irrevocably possible to empty all hurts and therefore to love, to have compassion. To have compassion means to have passion for all things, not just between two people, for all human beings, for all things of the earth, the animals, the trees, everything the earth contains. When you have such compassion, you will not despoil the earth as we are doing now. And we'll have no wars. You understand all this? It's up to you, gentlemen and ladies. So, a mind that is serious, totally dedicated, concerned, it is only to such a mind. Meditation means something extraordinary, something so immense, because in that meditation you discover, mind discovers space. You know what space is? This tent contains space. Right? There is this tent, and space is held within that tent. And there is space outside the tent. Right? And thought creates the space round itself. Have you noticed it? Thought, as the me, creates the narrow space in which it acts, which is, it has created through all kinds of reasons, a wall within which it lives. Right? There is that narrow space and the space which thought has created outside of itself as the tent. And is there a space, not science fiction space, is there a space which is not, which has no frontiers, which has no boundaries, and therefore no center? You understand? I wonder if you understand. This is part of meditation too. This is meditation to find out. So to find out what it is, as long as there is a center, the me or the idea of the me, with all its attachments, all the rest of it, that very center creates a space round itself, And where there is a center, there must be a border. The border may be extended, but it is still within the space which the center has created. Meditation means to come upon that space in which there is no center, and therefore no direction, and therefore no time. And all this is meditation. Right? Because without meditation and the coming upon that thing which is not experienceable, which is not to be put into words, which has no time, which has no continuity, and unless there is meditation, life has very little meaning. Do you understand? You may have a lot of money or no money. You may be attached to your property, to your wife, to your friend, and all the rest of it. Or you may worship your particular little God which thought has invented. The Jesuses, the Christs, the Buddhas, and all that. As long as you live there, there'll be suffering, pain, anxiety, violence. And that has no meaning in itself, obviously. So unless you come upon this, not invented, not projected, not brought about through any system, then only life has an extraordinary sense of beauty and meaning.